Okay, but this one's not rolling. Nope. Now it is. Okay, so we were on the Eames,
Yeah, and
Eames scene.
the nature of what a studio does, where everybody may be called upon to do almost anything. And of course, there were special people who were especially good at typefaces, people good at fabrics, people good at making prints, and but there was just like a giant accumulation on any project. And some of these pictures just laid out like that. That's a work area. That was theoretically somebody's work area.
So this is the office?
These are scenes from inside the office.
Oh my God, I love this. Wait, go before you go. So what is, this is like a timeline that they had up there?
No,
Is it for a particular project?
No, this is one of the great things that was done. I think it was done for the County Museum, Museum of Science and History, a timeline of history through every century with graphics and text describing what had happened at every, and this is something you ought to find a copy of somewhere. I know it's available. It's like sort of like one of their greatest accomplishments.
I think they have it at the Eames store. There's like a whole.
Well, it's the sort of thing
Yeah.
that if you're prepared to spend a little time and your vision is good, you'll just learn an enormous amount about Western culture.
Yeah, but they had this up in the office.
Well, this was they had one up just because this was long after it had been done.
Right. But I mean, like you can just by seeing this interior of the office, you realize just how creative and how many ideas and how much stimulation.
Like for example, I mean, here are two tables covered with images, and somebody working by themselves with a rewind, looking at something.
These are all 16 millimeter film reels.
Yes, and this is another picture that is just like here's somebody working probably on slides. Like these things are all up. A variety of people would be working on the sequencing of these things. Everybody had to look at them and do their best as is needed. Eames' office was like multi-focused, and depending on what the project was, and this material are just graphics and things that I saved that would otherwise either like they were duplicates or things I made copies of that I wanted.
Right.
I didn't take any of these pictures, but they were like treasures of what this organization was doing. Never thought it was like a family of people, and a lot of people. It wasn't a totally happy family because a lot of people felt they never got personal credit because no one ever got personal credit. It was everything. The Eames office.
Well, right, that's how it is when you work for an architect.
And Deborah Sussman, who went on to have with her husband to have a very big independent graphic design. They did the big blue bus, and they've done everything. She was very bitter about it. And most of the people who worked there came in relatively young and early in their careers. And I came in with my own identity. I mean, I already had major things that I was doing that were important to me. So I never had that feeling because I had my own projects. I didn't devote myself 100% to them, even though a lot of our hours were 70-hour weeks, and sometimes around the clock when we ran out of time. But I got the benefits of all the access to the technical facilities, and and did not feel subordinated by these high-powered personalities and the names. So a lot of people went on with sort of bad feelings about never getting the credit they should. But while they were there, we all had the choice job. Whatever it was, being part of the Eames office was a status.
And was it cool to have a gig for a period of time?
It was marvelous. Though that wasn't very important.
Did you feel then that you were exposed to a lot of different ideas and projects and things that stimulated you in a way?
What I was exposed to was the skills of graphic design and the concept of, I learned about typography. I learned in a very concentrated way by watching it all happen, all the areas of decision making that I had never really thought about, since I hadn't had a formal education in graphic design or art or anything. I just suddenly saw it all being used, and film was being shot, and I was watching. Yes, it was, and I learned how to do a poster. I learned how to do leaflets. I mean, I knew the idea politically, but I didn't know the hands-on. I learned an enormous amount in those years.
And is this the interior of their house?
No. That's some showroom somewhere. Maybe it's it might be their house. It's not a very good picture. It probably is their house.
Yeah, because
But their house has so many qualities, that's not a good represent. And I don't think there's anything of that
so this
in
is
those files. It's just the richness of the graphic stuff that we were surrounded by.
right. Okay. So these first two folders were all your still lifes. And that was from previous period though, right?
Oh, this is from very early on.
Right, this is the material that you were telling us.
Some of
before.
this was done in the 60s. And some of it was done before, some of it was done when I was living alone at the beach.
Okay, now I'm gonna move this because this is not the Eames material. Okay, so now here's, now these,
Like this is the Herman Miller. Oh, you know, their furniture was all distributed by Herman Miller, which is like, you know, the big modern furniture. In fact, Eames and Herman Miller sort of fostered their own big career. This is the Herman Miller showroom in New York City.
but now these photographs.
Those are photographs that I took
Right.
at Sunset Boulevard clubs.
Well, this looks like the Velvet Underground, some of
No. Well, it looks like it, but this wasn't the Velvet Underground. This was, you know, one of the big clubs. There's Bruce Conner.
that's Bruce Conner?
Yeah. Yes.
Did they know that it was Bruce Conner, or did it
Oh
just-
yes, but that didn't mean anything to them. But
Right.
what they wanted were pictures of a club scene and people dancing. And I just went in and shot, you know, 35 millimeter, set up some flash, and then they made these giant blow-ups. So something I did as a photographer ends up in a showroom in New York City, big photo mural-sized prints.
That's fantastic. And what is that? What is that? Is that like a cracked mirror, or is it
It looked to me like this is a glass panel, and it must be cracked. And that was probably designed to be cracked.
And so,
And I probably took this photograph, which was of a wooden toy. Shot it on a 4x5, and they made a big print for it. And
so this was work you did for hire when you were part of the Eames team?
I mean,
Work.
Well, what do you mean for hire?
Well, when you're working for them, they said,
They say we need these pictures, go out and do this.
right, okay.
Yes. And like this is, you know, this is all Eames furniture. And the World's Fair. This is a model of this building that was built for the U.S. Pavilion. That's Tony Armstrong Jones. He's married to somebody in British royalty. He and the British embassy people came one night, and Charles is demonstrating inside the 7 screens and how they work. And there's Ray watching. There's someone from the British embassy, and I was just I was just doing journalism. I was just photographing one of the things that happened. And this was like probably Ray Eames' birthday.
Yeah, it looks like there's a cake and.
Yes, and she celebrated. You know, somebody made Deborah probably did a birthday card for her, and I got a nice photograph. And there's Charles showing off, talking to Tony Armstrong Jones. Pictures. We did a giant Nehru exhibition here in Los Angeles. The crew of about 8 people went to India for 3 months and photographed Nehru's prison cells and all the things that he'd gone through before he became a leader.
Did you get to go to the World's Fair or to any trips?
Not for the Eames office. I didn't, but I took it in myself on my own time. Now here's a close-up of the dancers at one of the big clubs on the Sunset Strip, and yes, that is.
That's funny. And so, did you go on any trips for the Eames studio?
No. I stayed at the studio, and then they would send. This is strange. Because all of a sudden it's. Oh my! Yeah, this is a picture of Charles that I took. But all of a sudden in this is one of the things that I accumulated. This picture of a U.S. tank pulling a dead Vietnamese behind. This is one of the things I would have saved. This is from a Rome, trophy of the American War. That's really gruesome. But that's something I went out and did. You know, I photographed a meeting of educators, and then make a little slideshow. So these are like neutral photographs I took for the Eames people on assignment for their project. Oh my. She was one of the girls who worked there. I knew it because I took Charles. And that's like, these are photographs I took around the studio. This was a nice birthday party picture of the two of them. I really wonder if the Eames people, there's somebody at the Eames office. I wonder if he might want to come. Like this is probably a picture that Charles himself took. I would make extra copies of pictures that.
Well, Demetrios is now who's the grandson, is the one who's in charge of the.
Right.
Were you wondering whether or not he knows?
I wonder if he knows if all this stuff exists and how interested he would be. And here's another example of the sort of thing I would do. These are computer circuit boards, 5 by 6 inches, that I photographed and then in full color, and then they blew up for display purposes in the office. Yeah, there's a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah. And was this when did you photograph this?
No, that's one of Charles's photographs.
Okay.
He was a very good photographer
That's
himself.
a nice shot.
And yeah, it's kind of gorgeous. It was a nice wide angle, and it's kind of magical. I mean, I think it's probably, even though it must be impressive by itself, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's right on Wall Street.
I think this is probably.
I think it's still there.
I think it's probably the best way has ever been seen. And then these are. Like this is another of his photographs. This is at some government building. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I remember, making an extra print for myself, and how nice that these pictures end up here. That people will get to look at them.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to be over long. Oh, wow! There I am.
Is that you?
I had a very
my God.
big, and I had very rich red hair at the point. And I was wearing a suit, and I was carrying 3 cameras.
Yeah.
Come on,
That's a great shot. Where was that?
That was probably at the Nehru exhibition. Some big.
Yeah, because you can see there's some people are wearing Indian saris.
But to wear a suit and carry 3 cameras.
That's great.
And I had a big, bushy beard.
And red hair. All right, and then there's just a little bit more of the Eames stuff. There's this. Now, did you do this series for the chair?
Oh, this was actually done for the Herman Miller Company. I went to the UCLA library, which had been outfitted with Eames furniture, and just took pictures
Of people
using the Eames, falling asleep on the Eames chair, studying different Eames furniture. And I took a lot of that, like the girl asleep, but sitting in an Eames chair.
Well, it's great. I mean, because everybody's in a different position, using them in a different way.
And these pictures were used in a variety of some. I think at the Herman Miller furniture factory, in their office, they had a whole wall of these different pictures to show for the people who worked for Herman Miller how they're
used, of course.
Yeah, that was a very successful. I just went out and spent a day photographing at the UCLA library. Just straightforward, natural light, 35 millimeter snapshots. That's very satisfying. And these are and we went ahead and I signed it, and I did sign all of these. That's good.
Okay, and lastly, I think this is actually a lot of the same material, but it's not prints. But looks like this is part of that same session. Sorry.
This is, you know, it's obviously at some.
Function, who
Yeah.
is that?
That's Deborah Sussman.
Oh,
Do you know Deborah?
yeah,
Young Deborah. A younger Deborah.
yeah. And this is the office?
These are views of the office. And then I went outside and I found some broken windows. So apparently I was just carrying a camera. Probably when I was there, I was using a Hasselblad. But I shot a film, you know, I just shooting things for myself.
And did they supply you with, you could get whatever cameras and things that you wanted?
They had all, yes, and all the film I wanted. And so yes, it was a sort of, and these are employees. And this, yeah. And every so often, somebody runs into me and say, "Do you remember the Eames office?" And of course, we all remember. And we'd have young students coming for summer assignments, and I just photographed everything.
To be interns.
Yeah.
Seems like that would be just a prime position to be
Well, it was.
involved with, and people, and just stimulating, and did you have to take some portraits of Charles? Looks like he fancies himself a very debonair guy.
Yeah, these are different social events. And it's like like this is obviously, some things are done in the studio, some are like on a cloudy day outside, some are just neighborhood people on lunch walks.
And who's this? You know, can you see?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
There are a lot of people in and out of the studio. And there was major construction going outside the studio, so I just.
This is all Deborah Sussman?
No, this is Annette Del Zoppo, one of the other employees, who obviously I like to photograph. I think this is all pretty much more of the same. And
All right.
a lot of them I have
Excuse me.
very sentimental reactions to, remembering those days.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, I think that's a good place to stop for today. And we can continue on. We didn't even get to any of the civil rights material, which is actually probably okay, all the political things and everything, because we can.
Well, I should think we've accomplished a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
No, this is good.
this is not something that you can get through.
No, and it's better, I mean, I think it's just better anyway, just to do kind of bits and make sure we go through it thoroughly. All right, you guys, it's a wrap.